Hey there, I'm Sandy Reese, Chief Encouragement Officer here at Get Fully Funded, where we help small nonprofits learn how to raise the money they need to fully fund their mission. I'm here to help you learn how to master the art and science of fundraising, and I've got a great tip for you in just a moment. But before we get to that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that the next time we post a really great tip like this one, you're among the first to know. Okay, on to this week's tip.
What I want to share with you this week is about fundraising, but it's a little bit bigger. We get asked a lot around here about boards. Every nonprofit has a board, and your board is there, and it's meant to be a source of leadership for your organization, and your board basically interfaces between your organization and the community. So if you think of the community as stakeholders in your organization, your board is there to sort of interface with them. Your stakeholders are people who benefit from your programs, people who give to your programs, people who contribute or participate in your programs in some way. So your board is there to make sure your nonprofit is doing its job for starters, and to make sure that you're being as efficient as you can. They've got a whole host of roles and responsibilities, and we have an article over on our blog about your board's basic roles and responsibilities. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. But what I want to talk about today is, where do you find great new board members? People ask me that all the time, almost like they think there's some magic list somewhere that you can access and magically find amazing board members. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. There's a little bit of work involved in identifying who you need, and that's really the first thing you need to do, is to think about where your organization is right now and where you want to grow to and what it's going to take to make that happen. So in other words, what are the skills, connections, and talents that you need in your board to grow to the next level? So you got to do some thinking around this. Now, the biggest mistake that I see people make is to engage in what I call warm body syndrome. In other words, they run out and they find somebody and they say, "Oh my gosh, we need your help. Will you come join our board? You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to show up all the time. If you can just please say yes to being on our board, we'd be so grateful." Almost like they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't even really want to ask you this, but I have to ask you this." If that's you, it's okay, but I want you to do it different. Because when you ask that way for a new board member, the quality of the member that you get is going to disappoint you. In other words, when you set the bar so low for the expectation that you want your new board members to have, they're going to probably hit it. So it's better to think about it a little bit differently. So I want to give you some tips that you can use to go find some much, much better board members. And if you want to read the whole article, it's over on our blog at getfullyfunded.com/blog. Look for the article on where to find awesome new board members. Now, here's what you need to know about this. Number one, I get it if you have a brand new organization that you may feel like you don't really know a lot of people, or maybe you're just reaching out to friends and family, and which is not a terrible thing, but listen, you don't want your board to be made up of all friends and family, because basically they're going to go, "Whatever you want to do is great." That's not very healthy for running an organization. So you want people who care about the mission. You want people who understand what you're trying to do and how you're trying to grow, and you want them on board so that they're going to offer their ideas, and they're also going to give you some feedback. You don't want people that are only going to say yes. If all they do is say yes, that's a rubber stamp. That doesn't help you. So I want you to think about what you need, and then I want you to treat this as if you were hiring a staff person. So that means you're going to put the time and effort into it to make sure that you're getting the right person in the right spot. Again, no warm body syndrome here. Now, in this week's article, and you can go read this over at getfullyfunded.com/blog, we talk about 3 different kinds of board member prospects. We talk about warm leads, hot leads, warm leads, and cold leads. Your hot leads are going to be people that are already around you. They're either friends, they're already giving, they're already volunteering, they're already connected to you somehow, and it just hasn't occurred to you that that person might make a really good board member. So you want to look around right now, who is in your circle of influence, who's in your sphere that has a skill or connection or talent that you need on your board, and invite them to come be part of growing your organization. Warm leads are more like, well, maybe they're a friend of a friend. Maybe it's somebody who's doing business with your organization. They're a vendor, or they've attended an event that they're kind of at arm's length. That's still better than cold leads. Cold leads are people you don't have any idea who they are, but you're going to ask them to serve on your board. For example, if you say, wow, it would be really great if we had an accountant on our board, and I agree, it's a good idea to have an accountant on your board. If you literally go Google accountant in your area, and then you take that name and you email them and you say, hey, would you like to come serve on our board? You don't know anything about that person. Number one, you don't know if they believe in your cause. You don't know if they have time to give. You don't know if they're an ethical person. You don't know anything about them. And that's kind of dangerous in my mind. I don't want to add somebody to my board that I don't know anything about, because I don't know if they're going to represent the organization well. Are they going to be the person that's going to help build up the reputation of the organization, or are they going to tear it down? So you want to be really careful about those cold leads. Start with your hot leads. Imagine that you are in the middle of a bullseye, and the dot around you is solid red, right? So I want you to think about who else is in the middle of that bullseye with you. Who are the other people who are already invested in your cause? And I want you to start by having conversations with them. The most overlooked source of great board members just across the board in nonprofit is current donors. Current donors, because we tend to think of them as sources of income. Those are people who are going to give us money to run the organization, right? We tend to put them in that bucket or in that silo, and then we start thinking about board members, and we think about them in another bucket or another silo. And what we have to do is start breaking down some of those silos and think about everybody who supports the organization as being a friend or family of the organization, and you're right there in that middle of the bullseye together. So who's already around you? The other problem about looking at current donors is that an awful lot of people don't know anything about their current donors. They've not spent the time to get to know their donors. They don't know anything about them. And so they're basically looking at a list of people that they have their name, they know what their donation history looks like, but they don't know anything else about them. So pro tip here, ninja tip, when people make a bigger than usual donation, pick up the phone and call them to say thank you. And that will give you the chance to get to know them just a little bit, to find out what they're interested in and what their strengths are and what they think about your organization. And you might just find out that you really like that person. You kind of click with them. You think that they sound like they really care about things. And that's the kind of person you want to have more conversation with about maybe considering joining your board. So take it seriously, give it plenty of time. When I am on a board and I'm in charge of recruiting new people, I like to give myself 6 months to work through the process of identifying potential board members, interviewing them. I usually have a job description that I can share with them. I like to talk to them about what their interests are, what their expectations are. I want to share what our expectations are of them. I want to lay it out that we expect them to show up to meetings. I expect them to participate in fundraising. I expect them to give. I expect them to serve the organization well and be an ambassador in the community. Like whatever is on your expectation list, you want to have this conversation with somebody up front, because it heads off a lot of problems later. Be really careful about asking people just because they're really well known in the community. Their name recognition doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make a good board member. You want to make sure that they're a good fit with the culture of your board, and also be really careful about asking people who serve on lots and lots of other boards. Personally, I think anybody who's on more than 2 boards, you need to really question whether they have enough time to really dedicate themselves to the service of your board too. A lot of people are out there, they're like, oh, I'm on 10 boards, I'm on 15 boards, and I just want to say, why? Why are you on so many boards, and what are you getting out of that? And how well can you really serve each of those organizations if you're on so many boards, right? One of the things about it is part of board service is fundraising for the organization. If you're on 15 boards, how are you going to raise money adequately for all 15 organizations? I guess there's some people who can do it, but I think by and large, we don't want people who are on that many boards. So give yourself plenty of time. I think 6 months is good. It gives you time to work all the way through the process. If you have a job description, that's perfect. Start with your hot leads. Talk to those people, interview them, see if it's going to be a good fit, then move on to your warm leads. And then hopefully you'll be able to find at least a couple or 3 good people to add to your board before you get to the cold leads section. Hopefully this is helpful for you. If you want more, head on over to getfullyfunded.com/blog. We've got several articles about how to find great new board members and what your board's job is, how to manage your board, how to build a working board. There's a ton of stuff over there. So go take advantage of all of that. Okay. I want to open it up for some Q&A. So if you're here hanging out with me, which by the way, hey everybody, I see Anna, Cora, Becky, Kristen's here, Liz. Thanks you guys for tuning in. So if you have a question, go ahead and type that in. And while you're doing that, I want to share a couple of things with you. Number one, we have several episodes in our fundraising TV program where we go into a lot more detail about boards and where to find good members and what their job is and all that kind of stuff. We're getting ready to release a board member resource swipe file. That is coming up real soon, and we're going to have sample job descriptions and sample consent agendas and all kinds of stuff in there. So that's coming up soon. If you're not a member of Fundraising TV, you probably should come join us. It's getfullyfunded.com/TV. I also want to tell you that, let's see, enrollment is open right now for our annual Inspired Fundraising Retreat. So if you like the Wednesday tips, you're going to love Inspired Fundraising Retreat because we're going to spend 2 days, or the better part of 2 days together, doing a deep dive into online fundraising to make sure that you have the tools and the plan that you need to make it all the way through the rest of the year successfully. I know it's a weird time, it's a weird year, and things are upside down. And so you got to really make the most of virtual events and online fundraisers and your email appeals. Like, you got to nail all this stuff. So we're going to spend 2 days going through all of these. I've already carved out a lot of exercises that I think you're going to really enjoy, where you're going to get the chance to have your newsletter reviewed, your website reviewed. We're going to look at what makes a good Giving Tuesday campaign, what makes a good email appeal. We're going to look at a lot of stuff in detail. I've got some great examples. I think you're going to really enjoy it. So you'll find all the information over at inspiredfundraisingretreat.com. That happens September 17th and 18th, and you can grab an early bird ticket all the way up through August 20th and save a little money. So if you're into this, if you think this sounds really good, you like saving money, come grab your ticket. I would love to see you there. All right, you guys, go have a great rest of your day. I hope this is helpful. Again, go check out the articles over on getfullyfunded.com/blog. There's a lot of good stuff there that I think will be super helpful. And I will see you again next time for our fundraising tip of the week. All right. Bye, everybody.